All right, guys, welcome back to FAWKES News, Fox News, all the breaking news that is important to you. News with receipts. Let's start off with something that I know sounds hyperbolic, but it really isn't. This is really one of those things. I've done a lot of research. I'm willing to put my reputation on this. This is a really big deal, such a big deal that I'm going to make a separate playlist for this on YouTube about the port strike, because as this goes on, the worse things will get, and you will need to be in the know. This might be maybe one of the biggest strikes we've ever seen, that may have the most impact on your day-to-day that you've ever seen. A lot of people downplaying this on the X's, actually. A lot of people downplaying this is on the social webs. I don't think I'm downplaying it. I think I'm going to take this threat very seriously. Let me start the show with this here.
Liz, let me explain something to you. These people today don't know what a strike is.
Right.
When my men hit the streets from Maine to Texas, every single port will lock down. You know what's going to happen? I'll tell you. First week, be all over the news every night, boom, boom. Second week, guys who sell cars can't sell cars because the cars ain't coming in off the ships. They get laid off. Third week, malls start closing down. They can't get the goods from China. They can't sell clothes. They can't do this. Everything in the United States comes on a ship. They go out of business. Construction workers get laid off because the materials aren't coming in. The steel's not coming in. The lumber's not coming in. They lose their job. Everybody's hating the longshoremen now, because now they realize how important our jobs are. Now I have the president screaming at me, I'm putting a Taft-Hartley on you. Go ahead. Taft-Hartley means I have to go back to work for 90 days. That's a cooling off period. Do you think when I go back for 90 days, those men are going to go to work on that pier? It's going to cost the companies money to pay their salaries. Well, they went from 30 moves an hour maybe to 8. They're going to be like this. Who's going to win here in the long run? You're better off sitting down and let's get a contract and let's move on with this world. And in today's world, I'll cripple you. I will cripple you, and you have no idea what that means. Nobody does.
So that is from the ILA leader. This is the union leader in charge of the strike who's kind of heading this up. His name is Harold Daggett. Just to give you a quick graph here of all the ports that are going to be affected in this strike. It goes from Maine, all the way from Massachusetts to Houston, Texas, all up and down the East Coast, Savannah, Jacksonville. This is only part one of this. I just want to give you kind of the direct impact since this whole thing started today. I'm going to do follow-ons to this almost daily, kind of what it means. I will go into detail on what goods are going to be affected and how right now it looks like Christmas is really the holidays are going to be hit really hard. A lot of toys coming from China, Legos, a lot of these other toys coming from China. That's going to be affected agriculturally. Like you've got a lot of vegetables right now. Walmart's trying to work in flying things like asparagus in from Peru instead of shipping it through. So the price on goods are going to go up. They're already starting to see, just from the week leading up to this and the lack of productivity in the workers, we're already seeing like lettuce and things like that starting to rot on some of these ships. This is going to be a big deal. Just to give you kind of perspective on this, $500 million per day. I thought this was an interesting stat, and I'll put all the references to where I found these stats in the show notes for you guys. But for every day that this strike is going, it will take 5 days to recover from that. So if it goes for 10 days, that's 2 months. It'll take the economy to recover that. So for 2 months, goods will go up exponentially, and they've already up pretty high. We've already kind of see the economy in the toilet. So this is significant. We're talking about $7.5 billion per week that this is going to affect the U.S. government. Now, Biden, from what I've read here, is that, he has, direct say in this. He can put an end to this strike. You can see what they did when the airline strikes, when the air traffic controllers went on strike, and the government stepped in, when the union railroad workers in Palestine, Ohio went on strike. So far, Biden says he's not going to get involved in this. Now, a lot of people think this is selfish on behalf of the union workers. I'd love to know what your thoughts are in the comments section. If you think that the union workers are being a little bit selfish here. Now, what I showed you was at the end of this big interview. So he was already kind of amping himself up through the interview. And this was kind of the boiling point over when he said, I will cripple you. You know, it sounded very Sopranos-ish, very threatening, but, you know, it didn't start off that way. The interview didn't start out that way. What it started out with was his frustrations of being in this business since the 60s and watching this business grow when they fought from 25 cents to 85 cents. He talks about how many billions and billions of dollars the owners of these shipping containers that they built, that they created. This was something that they invented. Take a listen to this really quick. This kind of give you just kind of an insider's perspective on what their kind of argument is or what their griefs are about this.
MSC is the richest shipping company in the world, made 3 times the money than Amazon. A lot of money, right? Billions. Well, one of the companies, and I won't mention his name, he took himself a Christmas bonus, $4 billion. He took it out for him and his family, $4 billion. A French company, I won't mention their name, they gave all their employees 50 months salary as a Christmas gift. Now, look at that money. They have so much money, they don't even know what to do with it. They know they're building up terminals. They want to go automation. They want more money now. Get rid of these men. We don't need them no more. It's a big change going on. I've been fighting automation for years. They destroyed LA. They put a fully automated terminal at the Merce line. 800 longshoremen lost their jobs. If it was up to them, they would like to see everybody lose their jobs.
So here we go. Like, this is the big frustration here. I don't know if it's so much about the money as it is the automation parts of the strike. Now, big media, big government media is really honing in on this 77% wage increase across the board over the span of 6 years or whatever it is. But they're not really addressing what I think the real complaint is. If you listen to this entire interview, he talks about automation more than he talks about the pay. He talks about the automation and how many guys are losing jobs. Now you say, well, wow, these guys are making $60 an hour. They're making $60 an hour, but they're away from their families. You know, he mentions it's a very dangerous job, very dangerous job. You're talking about 17 people. He talks about directly about who died and lost their lives in the last couple of years working on these container ships. One things I didn't realize about working container ships is that these containers all have to be strapped down by people. And so he talks about being up north, they're climbing up these icy containers, sliding all around the place, and they have to literally ratchet each container down so that when the ship oscillates, that these containers aren't falling out in the ocean. In the south, it's very, very hot. You're on these metal boxes. You're crawling around up there. They have to get water to these guys constantly. You're talking about thousands and thousands of boxes that have to be strapped down, and these guys have to be climbing really, really high up, again, in the ice, in the freezing cold, or in the scorching heat in Florida. And so these jobs are very laborious, very labor intensive. Below deck is miserable down there. It's extremely hot, not very well ventilated. So this is a kind of a perilous job. And although, you know, the pay is significant, right? 77% pay increase from people who are already making $30 an hour. That's quite a lot of money. But when you're talking about the big scheme of things and these guys making as much money as they are owning these shipping containers, but really, I think the big thing here for these guys is the automation and the fighting in automation. Take a listen to this.
Question. Do you think the threat of the strike is they can understand the significance of that based on the recent things that have happened, like our Key Bridge, we're from Maryland, our Key Bridge collapsing and it just stopping all the ships from being able to deliver?
I'm glad you brought that up, because I would like to tell you something.
Okay.
When that bridge fell, my longshoremen are on this side of the bridge, no work, no salaries. Biden called me up on the phone, President Biden, Harold, I got the money to build a new bridge. I go, oh. What about my longshoremen? They're out of work now. They didn't cause no problem. Well, he goes, I got the money for building a new bridge and getting the bridge that's in the water out of there. I ask you one more time, President. What about the men whose families now have no money coming in? Well, if there was an explosion on a ship, maybe I can get the money. Listen, you're supposed to be a friend of the ILA. You came to me when you wanted the AFL CIO backing. I got it for you. You called me in the kitchen. You thanked me 1,000,000 times. I'm telling you, my members need help. Well, let me see what I can do. In politics, that means you're not getting it, okay? I opened up a fund with management after the first pandemic. Let me see how much money's in that fund. I called them up. They called me back. 300 million. Wow, are you kidding me? We put 300 million in there? Yeah. Well, I'd like to take some money out of there and pay for those families in Baltimore. Well, Harold, it's only for pandemic. Well, what about we get your lawyers and my lawyers, and any disaster, nature disaster, whatever, we can draw from it. I have no problem as long as the lawyers work it out. They worked it out in one day. It cost me $1.2 million every week to pay for their families. Plus, they were allowed to go to unemployment. And it's over now. They're back working. The ships are going in and out. I never got no help from the government. We did it on our own, management and union. That's what we're supposed to be doing, working together. And I hope we get back into that right realm.
So, again, I'm no expert on this, man. I've only been studying this for about the last 5 days, really looking into it. I know that this is a big deal for the Biden administration. I did talk to somebody that works in the ports. Typically speaking, the union in the ports and longshore workers have always been on the Democratic side, the Democrat side of politics. So this is a big deal for the current administration. There's a lot of conspiracy theories out there that this administration is causing this to then save it, or maybe that Trump's causing this to undermine Kamala Harris. I don't know. I don't know enough about this to say that, but what I can say is that it's a big deal politically for the Democrats, because no matter what, the administration looks bad on this. It's going to be bad on the economy. It's just going to look bad going into the holiday season. If Kamala wins, she's going to have to feel the effects of this economically going into her next term. If she even saves the day, this happened on her watch as well. So for me personally, I don't see this being like a political move, as it is probably just more of like a union move of saying like, hey, listen, we're scared of automation. We're scared of losing jobs. We see what happened to Sun Passes and all the union workers that were working, collecting money on Sun Pass. We lost those jobs. Talk about self-checking out. And literally, they have kind of revamped, even in the small town that I live in, they've revamped all of the little tiny grocery stores and all of the Walmarts, where there's really not very many employees working. It's really hard to kind of get any kind of customer service or help in there. And I think that that's more what this is about. But I guess we'll learn this together. Again, this will be a new playlist. So if you guys are interested in keeping up with this strike, I will say now, gas is probably going to go up. Toys are going to go up. Agricultural products are going to go up. I would say fill your cars up with gas and get a couple of gas cans in the meantime, and definitely get your Christmas shopping done early, because these prices are not going to go down for the Christmas holiday. I don't think we're going to have a Black Friday. I think we're going to have a very dark Friday coming up. That's my Tanstradamus prediction. Let's see. Stay tuned here to FAWKES News for more. Let me know in the comments. Do you think this strike is selfish? Do you think it is good for the business? Do you empathize with these union workers, or do you think that this is catastrophic and that this will cripple our economy and it's going to hurt a lot of people who are already suffering? Let me know down in the comments. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, that like button, and give us a share. Help us grow this brand new channel. G.I. Joe says it the best. Maybe you didn't know about the port strike, but now you do know, and knowing is half the battle.